YouTube, what's going on? It's your boy Drew Trades back with another video. Give you guys this account update for the month of March. I'm sorry, for the month of April. This is the new month. Obviously, last month was March. We ended out good, made a $6,000 profit on our $10,000 account. Started this month off strong. We had our first week of April. We got into two trades. We got into EURJPY on Tuesday morning. We got into EURJPY on Wednesday morning. We won on Tuesday morning. We lost on Wednesday morning. As you can see here, the month we have our, we're up over $1,000. Obviously, it's still getting our account to about $25,000 before I start risking a little bit more money. So right now we're still risking our 1,000, make 2,000 on every single trade, or 1-to-2 ratio on every trade that we get into. So as you can see, like I said, on Tuesday morning, profited $2,000, 1-to-2 ratio. Wednesday morning we lost our 1-to-2 ratio, so we're down $1,000. So as you can see, we made $1,000 for the week. Right now for our account, obviously, we started this $10,000 account back in March. So obviously in March, we got to $16,000. Right now, we started our account in April at $16,000. We got into two trades. Currently, the account's at $17,000. We profited $1,000 for the week, 50% win ratio. Didn't trade Monday, didn't trade Thursday, didn't trade Friday. Have our two trades set up, or we have our two trades up here. Like I said, we got that EURJPY on Tuesday. We lost our trade on Wednesday. So I'm going to break these trades down, show you exactly what it is that I was looking at, show you, why we got into this trade, why I sent this out, why we made money from it, why we lost money from it. Okay, so let's do all that. Let's go to the Discord. All right, let's go to our Discord. Let's go through our trades that we sent. So EURJPY. So I sent this on Tuesday morning, the first day of April. This is what the market was looking like during that time. Obviously, I wanted market to make this move to the downside. When we played out, or during the time when we were looking at it, take profit. I got hit at around 10 a.m., 9:50 a.m. or whatever. Mark came all the way down, hit our take profit. So go over this trade at first to see exactly what I was looking at. This was at 12:41 a.m. So let's go to the market. All right, so EURJPY. Let's rewind this to April 1st. So about right here. Right. So this candle. So obviously when we look at this from the start, okay, first thing that I'm noticing, I'm seeing a break of structure. Okay. So what do I mean by that? When I'm looking at this from this far perspective, okay, understand, remember, we're going on the market. We need to see some type of break of structure, and we need to see market retracing in order for us to even think about playing with this trade, to even think about getting into the trade as a whole. Okay. So when I'm going onto the market, remember, I'm looking at the structure. Okay. If I see that market's on a downward trend, I want to see market clearly break a low. I want to see market retrace, and I want to see market getting ready to make that next move, because we understand how the way the market moves and flows, right? If market made this swing, if market made this movement, 9 times out of 10 is going to make something similar to that movement. Okay. So if we see market is still continuing this trend, right, and we see the market is getting ready to make that next move, we theoretically know how low it's going to go to, just understanding how the way the market is moving and flowing. So this is our opportunity to catch this entire trade to the downside, just like that. Same thing with the upside, right? If I'm looking for a buy, or if I'm looking at the market, I'm seeing a break of structure, right? I see the market was on a downward trend. I see market take out that high, and I see market retracing, and I see markets getting ready to make that next move. Okay. We understand that the market's going to make a similar move to what it did before. So this is my opportunity to potentially get this whole entire trade to the upside as well. Okay. So that's what I'm looking at. When I was looking at this firsthand, what am I doing? I'm paying attention to the structure. That's all I'm looking at. Right. Paying attention to what these moves are doing. I see that from this perspective, the market was on an upward trend. We see markets making higher highs, higher lows, higher highs. Okay, we see market came down. We see market came up. We see markets completely breaking the structure. So if market is breaking the structures, making a new low, right? We understand that when market makes a new low, and we see the market's respecting this trend, we understand the market is getting ready to make that next push to the downside. So let's draw this out. All right, this is the first thing that I noticed. If the market made that push to the downside, we see market retrace up. So now we understand that market is getting ready to make that next move to the downside. Okay. Not only that, I also saw our 4-hour candlestick, our main confirmation. I saw our 4-hour candlestick get taken out, giving me that confirmation that hey, this move wants to continue coming to the downside. Okay. Now, obviously, remember, we cannot just go to one time frame, look at this potential trend and say that hey, just because I see a break of structure on the 4-hour, that this is just going to keep coming down. Okay. We have to have an understanding of where we're at within the market. We need to look at this from the top. We need to see what the monthly time frame wants to tell us, what the weekly time frame wants to tell us, what the daily time frame wants to tell us. Okay, those higher time frames are going to give us the most accurate description of what it is that is going on within this 4-hour time frame. Okay, so we'll know exactly what it is that we're looking for from the 4-hour perspective based off what the higher time frames are telling us. Because always remember, okay, whatever you're looking at on the 4-hour time frame, the bigger picture could be telling you something completely different. This could be just market retracing from an overall perspective, and this is getting ready to actually go to the upside overall. Okay, so you don't want to fall into the market's traps. You don't want to fall into. You don't want to get into the market and think it's doing one thing, whereas the bigger picture is telling you something completely different. So always remember that. Okay, if you've been watching my videos, you probably understand that by now. But I know, new people are coming on, looking at my videos every single day and every single week and whatnot. So I'm going to reiterate that on every single call that I do. Always look at the market from the top, have an understanding of what the overall move is telling you. When we go to the monthly, okay, I'm going to show you exactly what it is that I was looking at. Why I got into the trade and why we made money the way that we did with this. Okay, so same thing. Right? Everything I'm doing from the smaller perspective, I'm doing from the bigger perspective as well. I'm identifying the structure of the market. I'm identifying the trend. Okay. Understand that within every single time frame, there's a trend. If there's a trend on the monthly, there's a trend on the weekly. Within the trend on the weekly, there is a trend on the daily. Within the trend on the daily, there is a trend on the 4-hour. So, like I said, when I'm looking at this, I'm just paying attention to this structure. Train your mind to literally look at nothing in the market other than this structure. This is how the market is moving and flowing every single day, right? Market wants to come in the downside, it's going to trend. We understand that market wants to go to a certain direction. That's not just going to come down, it's going to trend down, okay? So when I'm looking at EURJPY from a monthly perspective, we can see that overall, right? We see that overall it's on an upward trend. We see markets making higher highs, higher lows, higher highs, higher lows, higher highs, higher lows, things of that nature, okay? We see that market we see that market came all the way down into this area price. We see market came up. We see that market's failing to make a new high. Now we're seeing this overall as, hey, market is getting ready to potentially come to the downside. Okay. Now, this is kind of a tricky structure because remember, I'm not even primarily focusing on the candlesticks per se because we understand that the structure of this market, one, is not always going to be perfect. We're not going to see, candlesticks just go, completely going to the upside, completely going to the downside. You're going to get in some scenarios where, hey, market could potentially be choppy in this area and get ready to go up. So we can honestly potentially be seeing this like this as well. And this is what I mean by the smaller time frames are going to tell us everything because all we're doing right now is we're getting a somewhat of a description of what the market could potentially be looking like, and the smaller time frames are going to confirm. Like I said, if this move wants to keep going up, the weekly time frame is going to tell us because this move down from a monthly is a trend within the weekly perspective. So if we get to this area, right, if we get to this area right here and we start seeing like the weekly structure getting broken, then that's telling us that hey, all this structure, the only thing that we're looking at here is market was just retracing from that monthly perspective. Okay. Was market just retraced from the monthly perspective and it's actually getting ready to go to the upside. Okay. So, like I said, all I'm doing right now is I'm just getting a description of what the market potentially looks like right now. Okay. And the small timers are going to confirm it. So, like right now, this is how I'm seeing it. I'm seeing, okay, market came up. I'm seeing that market's really failing to make a new high. Right. I see that market's really failing to make a new high. So this could potentially be getting ready to make a new low. Or, like I said, market could just be playing in this area, and this is actually getting ready to go to the upside. Okay, so now let's go to the smaller time frame. What are the smaller time frames tell us? Let's draw this out so we can see it visually. EURJPY, this is the only pair that we got into, so we don't need to mark. So, right, so boom, like I said, we could be seeing this like this, right? So where market could potentially be going up, or we could see it as, hey, market's going to stop on a dime, or market failed to make a new high and is getting ready to make a new low. Okay, so let's see what the small toppers is telling us. Let's get a confirmation of what the smaller perspective wants to tell us. Okay, identify the trend, understand why these moves are making this move. See how choppy it is right now. We can't really see what's going on here. Go in the past, figure out what made these moves that were already made its moves, and follow it. That's gonna give us the indicators. That's gonna give us that confirmation as to what exactly the overall structure of this wants to do. So let's go back in here. All right. So remember, this monthly move is a trend within the weekly. We see market making this higher highs, higher lows, higher highs, higher lows, higher highs, higher lows, higher highs, higher lows, higher highs, higher lows. Right. Market came up. See, market completely took out a structure, retracing from that monthly perspective. Right. So now we see that overall, EURJPY is on an upward trend. Okay. So now that market took out this low, this still has a potential opportunity for a market to go to the upside. And this is what I mean by stop trying to pay attention to every itty bitty move. Okay. All we're doing is we are focusing on the structure. Okay. The structure of the market. I don't care about what's going on here. I'm paying attention to the market just like this. Boom, market takes out a high, right? Just like this. So when we're looking at this, see that market, okay? We see that market made this push to the downside. We see from this point to this point, this is how high market has gone to, okay? We're not marking up a new low, a new high, or whatever the case may be until one of these structures gets broken out, okay? So now, obviously, remember, like I said, when I was looking at this from a monthly perspective, right? It looked like market has stopped on the dime right here and it's getting ready to go to the downside. That's what I mean by the small time frames would confirm whatever I'm looking at on the monthly. Because when we go to the weekly time frame, we can see that market is really failing to go past this low. So if market is failing to make a new low, that is an indication that market is getting ready to make a new high. Right? That's the indication the market is getting ready to make a new high. So we can see right here, market came up, market came down, okay? Because we understand, even though because market's on the upward trend, we understand that market was not going to keep going up forever, right? Same thing from a monthly perspective, okay? This monthly perspective, market needed to retrace from the monthly perspective, which is obviously a downward trend within the weekly. So obviously, market gave us that downward trend within the weekly. Obviously, this is how low market wanted to go to. We understand that the market's going to be moving and flowing with the EMAs if it wants to continue going to a certain direction. So now we can see, boom, we're sitting on our EMAs. So now what is market telling us? Market's telling us that, hey, this is the lowest point market wants to go to. And now we're getting ready to continue that upward trend. So now, and I think so, remember, we got into this trade twice. So we had caught the sell. We also lost this trade trying to sell it again and it ended up being a buy. We're going to go over that as well. But this is why, having an understanding of what the overall picture is telling us, right? Having that understanding of what the overall picture is telling us, that way we're going to know exactly what it is that we're looking at on those smaller time frames. So right now, boom, we can see markets making this higher highs, higher lows. All right. Boom, we see market made that push up. We see market failed to make a new low. So now we know the market's going to be making a similar to equal swing. So we can be seeing this as market is getting ready to make this move to the upside. Okay. So now when we look at this from a weekly perspective, so remember, this weekly candlestick this is telling us what the market did for the entire week. Okay. So this is from Monday through Friday. On Tuesday, when we got into this trade, market had not made this move. What market had did was market had went past this weekly candlestick. Right. So seeing that market went past that weekly candlestick, I was giving us that indication that, hey, even though this could potentially be going to the upside, we understand, right, that this weekly move to the downside is still a downward trend within the daily. Okay. Now, also too, right, we still don't really have like the real confirmation that this wants to go up, because for all we know, this could be, because the market wants to keep coming to the downside. That means that this daily trend is going to keep being respected. Okay. Now, obviously, where we're at within this market, okay, if this move wants to go to the upside, right, what's going to happen is this is still going to trend within the daily. This is going to be an upward trend within the daily, right? Now, even though it's an upward trend within the daily, when market made this daily move up and it's starting to retrace from that daily, that is a downward trend within the 4 hour. which is what we caught. Okay. So now what market had told us, which we're going to go over, is all market was doing from that 4 hour perspective was it was just retracing from the daily, and it's actually getting ready to go up from that overall perspective. We'll go over all that. But right now, like I said, where we're at within this market had not made this move yet. All we were seeing was market was in this area. We saw market break that weekly structure. So we're seeing this as, hey, this could potentially keep coming to the downside. So when we go to that daily, out. Okay, remember, if we can't see what's going on here, just go in the past. Figure out what made these moves as moves and follow it. We can start right here. You see, boom, this market's low. Market made its high. Market made its low. Market made its high. We see market came down. Market came back up. We see market take out this structure. Right? We see market made that retracement up. Market came back down. Not marking up a new high until this high right here gets taken out. Boom, we see market take out its high. Market made its low. Market made its high. Market made its low. We see market failed to make a new high. Now we see market getting ready to make that new low. Now, like I said, when I'm looking at this, and when I was looking at this on Tuesday, this is how I was seeing it. I was seeing this as, hey, market is actually getting ready to make this push to the downside. Okay, so obviously that's going to be a trend that's going on within the 4 hour. So let me draw this out. Right. So boom, this is what we're looking at. Now we're expecting market to make that next push to the downside. Obviously, the market's going to move in a similar to equal swing. So we're using that last swing that it made as a guide to tell us where this is going to be going overall potentially. Right. So this is how like I said, this is how we're seeing it on Tuesday morning. So now, obviously, given the fact that we have all this room to play with, right, market could potentially come all the way to the downside, all the way up into here. Right. We need to identify our 4 hour trend to hold on. We need to identify our 4 hour trend to catch so we can get this to the downside, the time frame that we trade off of. So now when we go back to our 4 hour, right? When we go back to our 4 hour time frame and we're looking at this, let me erase this. Right? When we go back to our 4 hour time frame and when we see, we're like, hey, when we opened our book up, when we opened our book to start, we looked at the 4 hour, we saw this as an opportunity for this to sell. Now, when we actually look at this from the top and see exactly where we're at with the market, we see that, hey, we have all this room to play with for this to go to the bottom. And we see that, hey, we're going with the actual flow and trend of the market. We can see here, we can see the trend, right? Remember, this daily move down is a trend within the 4 hour, right? The daily retracement up is an upward trend within the 4 hour, okay? That daily move down is a downward trend within the 4 hour. We can see market break structure. We see market retrace. And now we see market getting ready to make that next push to the downside. So boom, we have all the confirmations. We have everything we need. This is how we're trading every single time. Like I said, if you guys have been following the channel, you guys have been in every single video, you're seeing every single one of my trades the exact same way. I'm not trading one way this day and then one way another day. No, I am doing the exact same thing on every single trade. Okay, doing the exact same thing on every single trade and letting the probabilities work in my favor. Okay, we don't have to be perfect with this market. We just need to find we need to find our edge. We found our edge, right? We know our edge. We know and what an edge is finding something that basically works for you 50% of the time, 40% of the time, 50% of the time, things of that nature. Okay. You find a strategy, you find, something that gives you a win most of the times. Okay. So our strategy, obviously, our top-down analysis, coupled in with understanding how the way the market is moving and flowing, and understanding how the way the market moves with the candlesticks. Okay. So now when we're looking at this, all right, we understand, boom, we see market made that retracement up. What is our main confirmation to even get into a trade? Seeing that 4 hour candlestick get taken out. Okay. So boom, our main confirmation is we see that 4 hour candlestick got taken out. So now we understand the market's going to be moving and flowing in a similar to equal swing. So we know the market's going to make something similar to this move at least, right? Now, remember, we're not trying to catch this whole entire thing. We're just trying to get our chunk. How do we get a 1-to-2 ratio out of this? So let's go to the exact entry. Okay, so let's go to our exact entries. Go when I sent this out. So I sent this out at 12:41. I said EURJPY sell. at around 161.833. Okay, so this is where market was at when I sent this, 161.883, 12:41 a.m. 161.883. So about right here, okay? So this is where market was at during that time. Okay, so how do we how do we identify our stop loss, take profit, things of that nature? Okay, so remember, we're trade. Our trades are always based off the 4 hour candlestick. Okay, so whatever that last 4 hour candlestick was, that's always going to be our stop loss. Okay, so as you can see from where we're at, from where we entered this is going to be our stop loss right above that last 4 hour candlestick high, which is at 1.257. Right. Same thing. Literally the exact same thing. 1.62.257. Literally the exact same thing. Hold on, I think I wrote it down. Stop loss area 162.257. 162.257. Okay. Right above that last 4 hour candlestick. So now, like I said, we have all this room to play with. We have all this room to play with in order for us to get the chunk of the pie that we need. We just need a 1-to-2 ratio, right? So we got our little tool, show us exactly where that 1-to-2 is at. Okay. So our take profit is around, get it right on it. Right here. Okay. Take profit is around right. Our take profit is around 161.150. Okay. 161.150. Let's see where we're at. Wait, 160. I meant 160 point. Oh, I think I meant to put or 160.993. Wait, what? Hold on. 160. This is not a 1-2. 160.993. Hold on. 0.993. 2.4. I'm wondering why I'm wondering why it sent that out like that. I mean, that was our take profit, but I think when I entered a little bit lower. So yeah, okay. So it's about the same shit. I think we had entered a little bit lower. That's why I think in the thing I said entry area 161.833. So like in this area. Because obviously if I'm sending out the trade and it says 161.833, you're probably not going to get in at that exact time. Because remember, the market is fluctuating every second. So it could be at 833 1 second, the next second it's at 855, 8. So I think during this time, yeah, I think because I entered at 161.833. 161.8. Yeah. 161.83. That was a stop loss. And then take profit is around this area. Yeah. Okay. I think I messed up. I don't think I put the thing where yeah. Boom. So that gives us that 1-2. Yeah. So I think I put our entry at the wrong spot. So yeah, we had entered at 161.833, which is where market was at during that time. 161.833. Right. So that gives us that 1-to-2 ratio. Okay. So obviously when we play this out, when we play this out, give us that smooth sail to the downside, right? Smack take profit fairly quickly. Okay, so boom. With my account, like I said, we started our account out at $16,000. We risked $1,000. We risked $1,000 to make $2,000 for the trade. We came down here at $2,000, got our account to $18,000 for the first trade of the week. Okay, so yeah, that was EURJPY. So now, remember, we have an understanding where we're at with this market. So now let's play this out and let's see exactly where market was at when I sent this the second time. Okay, so we can see that market came down. Let me zoom in. We can see market came down and it, it made a similar swing, right? So, because remember, like I said, I don't want you to take the market's going to move in an equal swing. Like, don't take that to its most literal sense. Remember, we're using that as a guide. Okay, we know the market is going to make something similar to this because remember, we're not trading this whole entire thing. We're just trying to get our chunk. So if we haven't understand that market potentially has this room to play with, all we need is this little chunk. So we got that. Okay, now we can see that market really stopped on a dime right here, right? Right by like where that equal swing would potentially be at. And we started seeing it retracing again. Okay. So play this out, see exactly. Okay, so we started seeing market retracing again. So this is where market was at. So let's erase this. This is our first trade. This is our first trade. Right. And this is actually my first time like going up because once I lost it, I didn't really like look at it or try and see why I was lost. I kind of just let it be. But this is actually going to be our first time really seeing and having an understanding why the market did what it did. So boom, we go to our trade on Wednesday. Sent this out. Okay, so this was April the 2nd at around 2 a.m. Okay, so now remember we had caught this move to the downside. This was that first trend, right? This was that first trend. So now we saw that market made its retracement up, and we saw that market was getting ready to make a push to the downside again. Now, when we look at this, as you can see, our stop loss ended up getting hit. Let me get this was at 2 a.m. 161.537. 2 a.m. Let's play this out. Okay, so this is where market was at. Oh, okay, so this is where market was at. So we had entered at 161.537. 161.537. All right, here. Okay. Boom. So we look at that from that 4-hour perspective. Right. We see that last 4-hour candle got taken out. Obviously, our stop loss is above that last 4-hour candle. Okay. We still theoretically have all this room to play with still. Still theoretically have all this room to play with still. But understand. All right, still have all this room to play with. So, when I'm looking at this, I'm seeing this as potentially like, hey, we can still potentially sell this. This could still come down. We still have all this room to play with. Market still can make this similar swing. Okay, so we're looking at market come all the way down into here. All right. All right. So when we go to the 1-hour time frame, let's see how this played out. All right, we see market came up, gave us a nice push to the downside, got half bar thing. But now we can see the market completely broke the structure. Okay, so now let's figure out why. Let's go to the top. Let's see what this is overall telling us. Because right now we can see, so from that 4-hour perspective, that 4-hour high got taken out. Okay, so what is this telling us? All right, let's erase all this. One is telling us that overall this does not want to keep coming to the downside right here because we can see that market even broke our last daily high. Now remember when we looked at this from the top, right? Remember when we were looking at this from the top and we were seeing this as, hey, this is overall still going to the upside. Okay. We see that market made its push up. We see market now. We see that market failed to make that new low. So we know that overall this was going to the upside. Now we understood that where we're at within this market, we understood that market was retracing from that daily. Okay. Now, understanding where we're at and understanding that, hey, the overall move with this market is one to go to the upside. We see that from monthly, the market's going to the upside. We see that from monthly, market's going to the upside. That monthly move up is an upward trend within the weekly, right? If market wants to continue making this push up from the weekly, right? If market wants to continue making that push up from a weekly, that is going to be a trend within the daily. Now, when we were looking at this, okay, so when we have that figured out. We understand that the overall move this wants to go to the upside. So when we were looking at this, right, we were seeing this as, and this is what I mean by not trying to pay attention to all like every small itty bitty candlestick, because all we're doing is we're seeing what the structure looked like for today, for that day specifically. On Tuesday morning, this is the structure that I was seeing. But when you actually look, when you look back at it, yeah, I gotta erase all this because I want you to give me a second. I'm gonna erase all this because I want exactly what I'm talking about. Right? We were seeing what the market looked like Tuesday. This was the structure. This is what market what was telling us. Okay, but when we look at this from an overall perspective, right, when we look at this from an overall perspective, oh, there's one buffer because if I click the back button, it's gonna go. It's gonna else, and we don't want that. But it's good because, like I said, this is my first time actually going over this loss because I didn't really look at that kind of just. I genuinely don't care about those things. Like when I was a trader, I literally just go on to the next one for real. But it's always good to go over and have an understanding why you lost. So that way you can potentially prevent the next one. But honestly, with this trade, there wasn't really anything to like necessarily do to prevent, because all we're doing is reading, reacting. What the market was telling us during that time is that telling us that I wanted to sell. But obviously, when you look at this from this overall perspective, the market was telling us that, hey, this is the actual move. This is actually what market wants to do. So, okay. So remember, like I said, when we look at this from that overall perspective, we know that we're on an upward trend. Okay. We know that we're on an upward trend. We go to that weekly. We know that we're on an upward trend within the weekly perspective. Um, gonna piss me off. Right? We can see that overall from the week perspective that we're on an upward trend. We see market fail to make a new low. That's an indication that overall this is getting ready to make a new high. So obviously, if market's going to make that weekly push up, it's going to be a trend within the daily. Now, like I said, when we were looking at this on Tuesday, right, we were trying to identify the trend. We were trying to identify and see, hey, what could this potential trend be based off, what the market's telling us. So when we were looking at this, like I said, I was seeing this as, hey, this could potentially be telling us that this wants to keep coming to the downside. But obviously, what market ended up wanting to tell us is that all market was doing in this area was just consolidating. Market was just staying inside this area, and now is getting ready to continue making that push to the upside. Okay, kind of like when we go to this monthly time frame, and remember how I was saying, like, all we're doing on these time frames, we're just identifying and seeing what the potential market can be, and the small time frames are going to tell us what it actually wants to do. So when we're looking at it from this monthly perspective, it looks like, hey, market stopped on diamonds getting ready to come to the downside. Okay, right? We go to that weekly, we get that confirmation. Okay, we can see that from a weekly perspective. Hey, the small time frame is actually telling us that, hey, this doesn't want to keep coming to the downside because market didn't take out that low. This is getting ready to go to the upside now. So now when we go to the daily, same exact picture. We see that market was really playing inside this area, right? But all market is telling us is, hey, market, this is just that trend within the smaller time frame, right? Market, and we're sitting right on our EMAs as well. This is our daily EMA, so we know that if this move wants to keep going up, this is theoretically how low market was going to go to if this wanted to keep going to the upside. Okay, so now like me seeing all this, it's like, okay, we understand that market is, this is the lowest point market wants to go to. So we know that market is going to get ready to go to the upside. As you can see, it already did. Literally already took out that last daily high, right? So now we go to that 4-hour time frame. So now we can potentially identify, okay, what was it that we were actually looking at? Because now that this move was made, we can identify like what was the move that this was actually making. Let's go in the past. Let's follow it, right? We can see that when market made this push to the upside, this was his upward trend. Okay, we see that market made that next push up. We see market came down, we see market came up, we see market came down, we see market came up. And now that all this got taken out, now we can see, hey, market made this push to the downside, market retraced up, market came all the way down. Okay. You see how from this point to this point, market failed to make a new low. Okay. This is the lowest point market I got to before it wanted. This is the lowest point market I got to from this structure. Okay. So now, obviously, if this move wanted to come down, we would have seen that this low got taken out. But because we have an understanding of where we're at within this market right now, we understand that the overall move wants to go up. We understand that we're sitting right on our EMAs within that daily perspective. We theoretically understand that, hey, this is theoretically how low market wants to go to. What did market tell us? It tells us that this is as low as it wants to go to. And now we see market completely break that structure. Okay. So, like I said, this is one of those trades where it's like, we wouldn't have been able to identify this based off the structure and data that it's giving us real time during this time. Okay. Because like I said, when we're looking at this, we're seeing this as, markets taking our lows, markets still, taking our lows, things of that nature. And all market told us that, hey, this is just the lowest point that it wanted to go to. Like I said, it happens. And this is why it's very important, when you're trading, to always have good risk management, right? Understand, you guys understand my strategy and how I trade by now, right? We're doing the same thing every single time. Okay. We understand that we're not going to win every trade, right? We understand that this market can literally do whatever it wants at any point. So when we go into this market, all we're doing is just rinsing and repeating, understanding what makes us win, right? Understanding our edge, understanding what gives us, our good risk to reward and good probability ratio, and just doing it every single time. Letting the market do what it does. If it wants to randomly, retrace and do this, let it do it. Take that loss, okay? Because I know within a 100 trade, out of the 100 trades that I take, I'm going to win 40 to 50 of them. I understand how the way this market wants to move and flow for the most part every single day, right? So understanding that, all we got to do is just keep rinsing and repeating. Because like I said, I win 40, 50% of my trades. I'm in significant, I'm not in just profit. I'm in significant profit with me just doing that. Okay. So, I think with all of our trades now, I think, hold on, let me draw this out. All right. Obviously market took out its high. So, we see market made its push down. So I think it started consolidating, and here now it's going to get ready to start going back to the upside eventually. Right. But, we lost this trade. Now, obviously, let me go back to our chart. All right, so like I said, let's look at this from a bigger perspective. Okay, this is what I mean by it's like we don't gotta win every trade. You don't have to be perfect with this, right? You're not gonna be perfect. You're gonna lose trades. Like you're going to lose trades. That's just the name of the game of trading, right? Well, like I said, we don't need to win every trade. So let's just put in perspective of this week, right? Let's say we literally just do this every week. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 weeks, 4.5 weeks to trade respectively, right? Let's say we literally just do this every single time. We win one, we lose one. 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 Win one, we lose one, right? I'm risking $1,000 to make $2,000 in every single trade. Okay, so in a 5-week span, I'll win 5 trades. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's a $10,000 profit. Okay. At the same time, we lost 5 trades as well. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's a $5,000 loss. Hey, I'm still in profit. $5,000 for the month. Okay. I still turned this $16,000 account to $21,000. Not to mention, we did this exact same thing last month. I've now turned my $10,000 account to $20,000 within 2 months. Okay. Say we do that every single month within the year. And like I said, I'm saying this in regards of like us not scaling and risking a little bit more. Let's just say we're just risking our $1,000 to make $2,000 in every trade, right? You do this every single month within a 12-month span. That's an extra $60,000 in profit, and we didn't even win every single trade. We won half our trade, right? You do the same thing even if we win 40% of our trade, right? You probably wouldn't make $5,000 for the month. You probably make $3,000 for the month, right? Every single month you win 40% of your trades. I didn't do the math in my head, but you made $30 to $40,000 extra, risking $1,000, making $2,000, and we didn't even win every single trade. We lost more trades than we won. We're still in profit. Okay. That's what I mean by, you want to adopt that mindset. Stop trying to think that we got to win every single day. We have to win every single trade. Every trade I get into needs to be a dub. Like if you have that mindset, you're never going to see the success that you want within this market. You want to think of this market in probabilities. You want to think of this market from a long-term perspective. Because not to mention, you're going to have weeks where you don't profit. You're going to have weeks where you get into two trades and you lose two trades. You're going to get into a week where you win every single trade for the week. You get into three trades, you win all three of them. You're going to get into weeks where you don't even trade for the week, right? So having an understanding that one, this market isn't really uh, per se predictable. Like we don't know how many times we're going to trade for the week. We don't know which trades are going to be a win. We don't know which trades are going to be a loss. But figuring out that system and figuring out that edge to where, hey, I have an edge. I have a system that is going to be there for the wins and is going to be there for the losses and is going to be there for the days that I'll trade. And it's a system that is going to inevitably have me in profit, whether, no matter what the market throws at me each day, each week, each month. Okay. So, like I said, with this trade in particular. Yeah, I lost it, but it doesn't really matter because maybe we can go on Monday, we can lose again. We're still not down any money. We lost, now we're in break even. We win our trade again. We're up 2,000. We win our trade again. We're at 4,000, just like that, right? Lose two more, or whatever the case may be, right? So we have an understanding of how the game is played, but obviously, with our two trades, we got into EURJPY on Tuesday, we won it. Got into EURJPY on Wednesday, we lost it. We understand why we lost it. Not really much I could have done to prevent that. So it's just a matter of, hey, letting the system and probabilities play out. But yeah, so those are the two trades for the week. Broke those down. Like I said, we have a $1,000 profit. We have a $1,000 profit for the month, or $1,000 profit for the month. Let's just rinse and repeat. Sunday, the market's about to open up in a couple of hours. We're gonna, obviously get into some trades this week and gonna keep growing our account, continue to, grow this. Like I said, we're trying to get this to about 25,000 before we start risking a little bit more, and just gonna keep growing and flourishing with the skill set. So, hope you guys got a lot of value out of this. Make sure you guys like, subscribe, share this to all your friends, share this to all the people that you want to learn this skill set with you, to get better, to be more profitable, to be more consistent. Go ahead and send this to them, and make sure you guys are tuning in. Like I said, I'm dropping new content every single week, pretty much every other day. I'm dropping stuff, value. Make sure you guys are getting what you need to be successful. So I will see you guys all in the next video. Let's have a great trading week. Let's make some more money. Deuces.